It's been 2.5 years since I returned home from my last trip around Australia. After resuming work, it took only 3 months for the sparkle in my eyes to dim and a deep emptiness to return. I had tried to settle down, but my longing for the open road, freedom, a nomadic existence grew stronger. My next someday nearing closer. So I prepared for 2 years, waiting, ready for the day I hit the road again. 8 days ago was that day. I'm currently camped on the northern bank of the Dawson River, just outside of Taroom on the Leichhardt Highway, which is a town in Outback, Queensland. There's a national park just northwest of here that I've heard about, which I've always wanted to go and see. It's called Expedition National Park. Just the name alone sounds like something I should go visit. So there are 3 sections to the park. Robinson Gorge, which is the first I'm heading into, which is on the eastern side, and then Lonesome and Beilba sections, which are on the western side of the park. So it'll be about a 2-hour drive to get there from where I am now, but there's some other sites along the way I'll stop in to see. So I'm here in Taroom on the Leichhardt. I'm just got to head north of here and then turn off and check out Lake Murphy Conservation Park, which is meant to be a bit of a hotspot nearby for wildlife. Then just take this dirt track up into the turnoff into Expedition National Park to the Robinson Gorge section. I'm spending 5 nights out here, and then I'll be most likely taking this track up and around down to check out Nuga Nuga National Park, which is another little hotspot in the area, and then visit the 2 western sections, Lonesome section and then Beilba section. So it's a nice little loop, and that will complete my trip into Expedition National Park. It's an easy half an hour's drive north to the Glen Horton Road turnoff, which will send me towards Lake Murphy Conservation Park. It's the first real gravel I've seen in quite some time. It doesn't take long for the countryside to go from green to brown. It gets pretty dry out these regions. Lake Murphy is named after 16-year-old John Murphy, who joined the explorer Ludwig Leichhardt and his party in 1844 as they travelled between the Darling Downs and the Northern Territory. It is an ephemeral perched lake, part of a 550-hectare parkland. So this is Lake Murphy. It's mostly dry at this point in time, but there is still some water around, and there's a big mob of emus up the back there and a few birds of prey swooping around in the middle. So Leichhardt actually camped here. This is one of the last camps remaining that hasn't been destroyed from all the grazing and that. So over 150 years ago, Leichhardt camped on these banks, admiring this view, and it's remained much the same since. I was just walking along the track here back towards the main walking track to the lake, and I come across this dead turtle. Looks like it had been trying to find its way out to some more water and never made it, because it is pretty dry out here at the moment. It's only that last section of water left, and the lake only fills up when the nearby river floods and it comes in here. But it's quite nicely preserved. The skeleton still got the front legs, Everything else has been eaten out. So yeah, on the locals. Yeah. The track becomes increasingly sandy, evidence that I'm entering the central Queensland Sandstone belt country. I've reached the turn-off into the Starkvale camping area. It's another 16 kilometres to go, and from here on it's four-wheel drive only. The track up to this point has been really well graded, just a few rough corrugations, but otherwise no issues. So let's head on in. The winding track continues through the Bellington Hut State Forest. I thought I'd already entered Expedition, but the occasional sign kept directing me forward. Cattle graze here, and eventually a young mob block my path. They call in backup from my right flank, though after checking me over, they give me the all clear and clear the path. Finally cross the cattle grid into Expedition National Park. A 10 minutes drive and I reach the Y junction, taking the right track down through the dry creek bed and entering the Starkvale camping area. And here we are. Campground. It's a pretty easy track to get in. Very quiet, nice open space with pit toilets up the back there and some little fire pits here as well. So I think I'll spend the rest of the day off and just relax and get dinner ready before the sun goes down. After a night of howling dingoes which surrounded my camp, the morning awakens and I'm eager to prepare for my first walk of the trip. Well, it's getting pretty colder here at night time. All the solar panels have iced over. So it's currently June, mid-June. But in the car it's a few degrees warmer than outside. These will start defrosting soon. Camping permits are required and now must be obtained online before arrival from the Queensland Parks and Wildlife Service website, as all self-registration booths on site have been removed since 2017. So I'm ready to do my first walk for the day. I'll be heading down to the Robinson Gorge section, and depending on what the track looks like, I might head down into the gorge itself. So let's just go check out the map on this interp. So I'm here at the Starkvale camping area. I'm taking this track up to the Robinson Lookout, and then there is another track down going into the gorge itself. The beginning of the track is down in the day use area, just marked with this little sign, so it's very easy to find. The track out to the gorge is like a narrow little goat track. It's pretty defined though, so already seen an emu, a few wallabies around, which is pretty cool. Robinson Gorge, beautifully adorned with red, yellow, black and white sandstone, chiseled by millions of years of erosion.
Taking the sidetrack, I begin my descent into the gorge, scrambling along loose, rocky surfaces and rough-hewn steps in the sandstone.
Well, I've just made it down into the bottom of the gorge. It's a fairly easy track down, you just got to watch your footing. You just make sure you know where to get out again. It's just this little bit of strap on this tree that I've got my GPS as well, so I can mark the position, otherwise you won't be able to get back out. There's apparently only the one way in and out. But I'm going to go for a stroll along this creek and see what's in there. Just look at this little gecko skin here. Gecko's come up and sloughed its skin and it's kind of wedged in the crack. Probably used the sandstone to help work it off. Very delicate little paws as well. Very silky.
The mix of introduced and native grasses formed knee-high thickets, with many spiked and prickly weed seeds sinking their barbs in my jacket.
Just look at the textures on these cliff faces. All this nice beautiful white sandstone there, then the reddish tinged sandstone around, getting darker and darker. I'm going to go take a quick look up at this bit of a cave here and see what's there. Now all this Robinson Gorge area, the sandstone was laid down back in the Jurassic period. It's a big load of it heading out into Outback Queensland. But over the millions of years since, it's gradually eroding down again into the original sand it once comprised of. You can still see layers from the shores and creeks flooding small pebbles out and creating a layer in the sand. That's gradually been lifted up, and here it is today, way inland. And give it another few more million years, it will probably work its way back to the ocean again as a beach. But underneath you can see loads of scats and tracks of local wallabies and a few other rodents and birds. So it's a pretty good spot for wildlife to chill out during the heat of the day or come for shelter at night. Beautiful little cave. Just look at this beautiful purpley mauvey colour. There's a band right along. It's like something must have come down at some point and did a perfect layer all along. It's a nice little spot. There's just loads of nooks and crannies to explore all along this whole cliff face. That's just this side. The other side still has plenty more. Not much wildlife around though. It's very quiet. But I'm sure they're in here. There's plenty of fresh scats and tracks, but they must be in the long growth, hidden away. So back to camp.
Back near the campgrounds, I take the left at the Y intersection to head towards the cattle dip. So I'm at the cattle dip, which is another highlight in the park. It's named after cattle dips that are used for deticking cattle, with a long narrow chute with water in it. So it resembles this, where the cattle will run through and get deticked. It's a nice quiet spot along the gorge. I've only got one more track left to walk in this section of the park. It's Shepherd's Peak, which is a 3.6 kilometre return track. The start begins a couple hundred metres from the campgrounds. And this is Shepherd's Peak. It gives an almost 360-degree view of the whole area. You can see out across the country, the gorges, some of the river lines, small mountaintops pop out. I believe it was called Shepherd's Peak because back in the early days when this area was first settled, they had a lot of sheep coming out here, and there were dozens and dozens of shepherds looking after each of their flock. So this may have been a bit of a spot to come for the shepherds to keep an eye out. I think I'll stay a while up here. So I'm in camp and I ran out of bread a few days ago. So I'm just going to knock up a simple damper. I'll be doing something a little different. I'll be adding in some green banana flour and some coconut flour. Otherwise you just need some self-raising flour, some salt and water. Very basic ingredients. So I'll start with about half a mug self-raising flour, quarter of this coconut flour, and then some green banana flour, just a quarter of that. Usually about 1 mug worth of flour does my tin, which is sufficient for me for a day or two. Throw in some salt, just a good pinch. Spin that round a bit, mix it together, and then add the water. Coconut gives it a really nice aroma. to use some of this flour out on my board. Start kneading it for a while. I've got my dough all kneaded up and just made it into a bit of a long shape to fit my baking tray. Just a bit of flour into the baking tray as well. Rub around the sides. Okay. Nice little damper there. And screw it a little bit. I've been preheating the Travel Buddy oven, so I stick this in for around 2 to 2.5 hours. I should have a nice loaf of bread. So I'll have a peek in about an hour's time just to see how it's rising and just work it from there, but about 2 hours will probably be at least the minimum, and a 2.5 should get it all the way through nicely cooked. So it's been 1 hour, just a really quick peek to see how it's progressing. Coming along okay. It is smelling absolutely delicious right now. A coconut aroma is just coming out all through the car. Very nice. So it's been 2.5 hours. It's just about done now. I'll pull her out. Smells delicious. Let's look at that. Beautiful little thing. Got a slab off. Nice and crisp on the outside. Look at that. It's nice. You can see the banana gives it more of a banana type bread appearance. But then the coconut adds a bit more of an aroma and flavour to it. It's nice. Basic damper. It's not like a bread where it's all soft, but the outside can be quite crunchy. The inside's all soft and good, but what you need is a bit of jam or something on top and sweeten it up. There we go. Try that out. Brilliant. This loaf won't last very long. I'm on my way out of the Robinson Gorge section, heading northward. I'll probably get some more food supplies before heading south back down to Nuga Nuga on the western edge of expedition, and then the remaining 2 sections, the Lonesome and Beilba. So I think Robinson Gorge section is quite a beautiful section. The other 2 are much smaller, so it'll be less to see, but still it's worth checking out because I don't know if I'll ever be back through this way again. So I'll do it now and see what I see.
It's amazing how quickly a trip reinvigorates the body, mind and spirit. I've only been travelling for 2 weeks and already my body feels looser, the tension fading away. My dreams have become lucid, vivid, brighter, every character within lifelike to the finest raw detail. Such intensity. My spirit awakening from its 2.5 years sleep. catch myself smiling more often, a rarity before I departed on this trip. My desire to choose a new path in life strengthens. The open road has this impact on me, never knowing what's around the next corner, reviving the senses. I don't know where I'll end up, but for now I'll just keep roaming, keep heading west. After a night camped in the township of Rolston, fresh from a hot shower and shave, and my supplies restocked for food, water and fuel, I was ready to tackle Nuga Nuga National Park. It's one of the largest lakes in central Queensland, a hotspot for local wildlife. I'm eager to see just how much water is in the lake.
Well, the trip is progressing really well. Leaving expedition, it's warmed up significantly. It's now 7 or 8 o'clock at night and I'm not cold at all, so it's a real bonus. I had to hide in the car each night in expedition by around 6:30, 7ish. It was just too cold to stay outside. I had my big Dow jacket on and gloves and beanie, but here it's really nice, temperate. And the landscape around here is really beautiful. There's loads of wildlife, the birds. I saw some emus on the other side as well. So it's just the last 2 sections to go, and they're pretty small. And that's basically the end of Expedition National Park before I keep heading west and to see what's further outwards in the outback of Queensland.
So quick update, I've just been in Nuga Nuga. This is my second night here. Yesterday was fine, but today there was a slight cloud cover, occasional pitter patter of rain. Nothing too serious though, but then I was just starting to get dinner ready and a bit of a shower come through. So I got myself out of my current campsite down closer to the main track as this is black soil country and a bit of rain turns it into a basically bog. It's only about 25 k's back to bitumen, but the tracks are just so slicked up already. It was like I got here when I did. I've jumped on the HF radio, got the weather report. It's going to be raining the next couple of days, maybe 10 mils each day. So it's not a massive amount of rain, but that top layer of dirt on the surface just goes to this mushy stuff. My tyres are already filled up. So I'm going to be staying put in Nuga Nuga for however many days it takes till this top layer dries out. I've got plenty of food and water, at least probably 8-9 days of food, and water's plentiful now. I've got my filter system on board. I can filter any water I need, so it's just a matter of staying put now and just relaxing, I guess, until the roads dry out and I can get out of here again. And then I'll continue southward into the other sections of into Expedition if they're still okay and haven't been closed. So very, very quick that shower sort of come through, and that's the end of it. I'm stuck here. Otherwise though, I'm prepared, so sit back, relax. I'm going to get some dinner on tonight and I'll enjoy the rest of the night in silence. So I had a change of plans. I had set up to stay there at Nuga Nuga, but then I had a couple of foreign backpackers come down in a 2-wheel drive hire vehicle, one of those little camper type things, and they said they'd been driving for an hour in the rain. The tracks were still fine, so I decided to pack up and headed out with them, and most of the way, 95% of the way, was still firm on top of the road. It's only for the last section that started to get pretty sloppy, so if we had waited much longer, I don't think we would have got through that last section. I was feeling really getting too sloppy. So I'm out at a gravel pit at the moment on the side of the Carnarvon Highway, and I'll be staying the night here before heading into Injune tomorrow, and then reassess what the tracks are like depending on weather. So good night. So it was a somewhat long night. I had a lot of trucks come through on the road. It's a bit noisy. I'm still in this gravel pit, and I've just got on the HF radio again for another weather update, and it will be raining pretty much most days until next Monday or Tuesday, so at least another 4 or 5 days with a bit of a break midway through. But it appears that I'd say most of the rest of the sections, the other 2 sections and Expedition, will just be impassable now. There's not a sealed road in, so I'd say that's the end of my trip into Expedition National Park. So I'll be heading into Injune and then reassess and find the next place I can go to, because I'd say most of Carnarvon that I wanted to visit as well is probably off limits for the time being. So I may need to find a new travel plan. But that's life when it rains out this black soil country. The tracks just become sloppy hellholes, and you just do too much damage to the track trying to get through anywhere. Well, my gravel tip is being overrun by free-range cattle. They've just crossed over the road and grazing along the edge. They don't seem too worried by me, which is good. So I stopped into Injune to get some more information, where I had the information centre and Telstra phone reception, and I was able to find out that the track into Lonesome section is most likely okay, but Beilba is probably still an unknown. But this here is Lonesome Lookout. Gives a good 180-degree view of the surrounding landscape. So this is the Lonesome section of Expedition National Park. It's really just a small campground area at the foot of the mountain, and it has a Dawson River crossing just nearby. So the maps are actually out of date that I have. It still said there was a part of an unsealed track, but it's actually sealed all the way from the Carnarvon Highway right to the campground, other than the final 100-metre stretch into the campground itself. So you have no issues during wet or dry weather to get here. But it's a nice quiet spot, beautiful mountainside. You can go to the lookout like I just did, or just sit around in nature.
There's no walking tracks or anything else here, just a few camp tables, and I think that's about it. But still, if you're looking for a quick spot off the Carnarvon Highway, this section might be worth its while.
Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Visit my website roamingtheoutback.com for Australian travel destinations, vehicle preparation ideas and gear reviews. If you'd like to help support the creation of new videos, please consider becoming a Patreon. Click on the Patreon button on the screen now. Thanks.